Games Workshop, what are you doing to my bank balance? Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. So, if you keep up to date with kind of gaming news, you'll have seen yesterday, which was Sunday the 13th of August, that Games Workshop have announced the re-release of Necromunda. Now this game first released in 1995, so yeah, it's getting on a little bit now, it's a bit long in the tooth. And bearing in mind we've already seen Shadow War Armageddon using pretty much the Necromunda rules when that released earlier on this year, you might be thinking, why on earth is it back? Well, to be honest, I know very little at all about Necromunda. When it released in 95 to kind of the early 2000s, that was really the time that I wasn't in gaming. I dropped out from being a young guy and it completely passed me by. I asked the guys in my gaming group, why is Necromunda so well loved? Why does everybody look back on it fondly? And why is it important that it's back again? Now what they said to me is that the game is just so personal. It's not about competitive. If anything, it was actually very unbalanced originally. So it wasn't about a competitive game. It was that creating your characters, naming individual gang members, living out the stories through a more of a roleplay element and just being able to kind of like level them up over time. And that seemed to be what people really loved about the game. They loved the fact that there was these gangs in the game that you could kind of build up and equip however you wanted. They loved the fact that it wasn't necessarily, whilst it was within the 40k universe, it wasn't Space Marines versus Orcs. And I think there was just a genuine love for the game. Now I was worried that it was a little bit rose-tinted glasses and that people actually don't really kind of remember it how it was. But I guess Shadow War Armageddon proves that people still do have a passion for these older games. So for those of you like me, who don't really know what Necromunda is, here's a quick kind of 30-second pitch about what it is. So within the 41st millennium, we have these sort of hive worlds, which are basically just sort of cities or worlds where buildings are just placed layer upon layer upon layer. And you start at the bottom of that layer with basically pretty much the sort of the dregs of society, for want of a better phrase. And as this kind of pyramid-shaped massive buildings builds up, every kind of level you go up, you have a slightly better class of citizen, if you like, until you get to the top. And that's where your real kind of wealthy people are. A very kind of political take, I suppose, on society and class system anyway, even back in 1995. Necromunda is set in the Underhive, which is basically the world underneath this huge structure of building. So if you think the worst of society are basically in that bottom layer, this is set underneath that bottom layer where you basically have gangs fighting against each other. And from what I've read about it and from what I've been told, it definitely kind of harks back to my childhood of Judge Dredd comics and that kind of apocalyptic gangs, and there's a very kind of punk-inspired sort of 70s, 80s feel to it. And Games Workshop are bringing back those the models from the original John Blanche artwork. It's sort of, from a thematic point of view, it really is tying close back to its roots. However, I did a little bit more digging yesterday, and what have I found out about the new release for 2017? So the expectation is it's going to release in November, and the release will take on a very Blood Bowl-like release. So there'll be a starter box, which will have the first two gangs in that starter box, with a bit of scenery. I'll come on to that in a second. And then over time, probably month by month, they'll release another gang each month. And I think Forge World will potentially be making some of the characters like they do with some of the characters for Blood Bowl. Now the box set that comes out in November, if the date is right, will have the Escher gang and the Goliath gang. And there's already been some images, I would say leaked, but actually they're official ones now. There are already some images out there, and I'll add these into the video now so you can see them. Now that box set should contain the rules, the two gangs, and some scenery. However, the scenery isn't going to be new scenery specific for Necromunda. It's going to be the same scenery that came in the Shadow War Armageddon box. So some people will already have that from Shadow War Armageddon. Some will have bought it already with as it was released as terrain kits. So you can kind of build on that and expand on that into your games of Necromunda. Now, from what I've read, the first 6 gangs, their release schedule has already been arranged by Games Workshop. We don't know what that is, but the rumour is that the first 6 gangs have already been scheduled. And from what I've also read, the first 4 gangs, and I assume the Escher and the Goliaths are in these first 4, they're already made ready to go. What is interesting is Games Workshop have gone with plastic multi-part kits. Now, the original models back in the day were white metal miniatures, and I think probably my own thought, I wasn't sure how big this would be because I've never played Necromunda before, so I haven't got those fond memories from days gone by. But I wasn't sure how big this would be, and I was quite surprised to see that they'd gone for sort of full plastic kits. But then I guess with Blood Bowl as well, they've gone down that same route, so it does make sense to do that. And I assume that once their molds are set up and they churn these things out, obviously if they sell big enough numbers, plastic is definitely the way to go. The original Necromunda was based upon 2nd edition 40k, as was Shadow War Armageddon. However, the new Necromunda 2017 will be based on 8th edition current 40k rules, with some tweaks to allow it better for a skirmish game, rather than the multi-troop army size game. What it will have over the original Necromunda is it'll have the addition of action points. And from what I understand, this wasn't in the original Necromunda, and it's going to be along the lines of how Space Hulk works. So certain actions will take more action points than others. Now the rules for the original game had rules for on gangways, on walkways, sort of playing at different levels. However, a new addition to the rules for the 2017 Necromunda will see you being able to play in tunnels, and this will make use of the Forge World Zone Mortalis kits. So then folks, Necromunda, eh? Like I say, I've never played it before, so my anticipation for this is probably a little bit dampened compared to some of the guys in my gaming group who are absolutely already sort of planning to go all in. Somebody's already decided to set up a campaign ready for it. Guys are digging out their old gangers. It really does seem to have piqued the interest. And it certainly made me think about Games Workshop's approach to business at the moment and just exactly what they're trying to achieve. Now, I've got my own thoughts on this, and I think I'll do that in another video later this week. But that's it for today. Necromunda's on its way back. What do you guys think? Do you remember it with fond memories? Do you just not care and you think, God, this is just another game that I don't want to sink any money into? Let me know down in the comments. If you've liked this video, please click the thumbs up button. If you haven't already subscribed, please click the subscribe button and don't forget the little bell to be notified when a new video updates. And I'll see you guys in the next video.